One is more man than bat, the other's more bat than man. Batman and the Man-Bat. Batman and the Man-Bat is filmed before a live studio audience. Batman and the Man-Bat. Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh review. Today, let's take a little look at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Megafig Man-Bat. Look at the size of this box. I've long since thrown away the Clayface packaging, but I think this is bigger than that, right? But it required this size of box to get this figure in here. It's a big honkin' chunk of plastic. Otherwise, the packaging is what we're used to with this line. You have the figure in a huge ass window, the blue background, the DC Multiverse logo. On the side, essentially all that in a different order. On the back, a very nice picture of Man-Bat from the comics with Batman and Man-Bat and lots of bats around the men. On the other side, same thing, just Man-Bat. Top, some window, DC Multiverse. On bottom, legalese, barcode. Oh, there's extra tape. Good grief. There's a stand included, DC tampoed on there, one peg, but I'm not sure. Well, I don't know. We'll see if I need this. And then here's the card with that same picture from the back and a bio. And the more of these I get, the more I like them. It eliminates the extra step of cutting out a bio off the packaging or something if you open your toys. And oh, what a hell of a toy it is. Just look at all the sculpt work here. And design, that is damn frightening. It's definitely an imposing Man-Bat. He has a lot of bulk to him. At the top. Get down low and it gets kind of thin, but we'll get to that. Sculpt-wise, there's all this little fur detail working its way down over the shoulder, and then it turns into more of a, well, I don't know, there's some fur and some hair and some fur, some hair and some fur. But even the skin is textured and it's got these veins running through, popping out, just, he's muscular, he's buff. And that's the same down here on the lower legs and feet, just skin showing through. Some clawed toes, some clawed hands too, but all we see is the thumbnail. Something I didn't expect was him holding the end of his wing. I don't know if that's a comic thing or if this is based on a certain artist of some kind, but I always assumed that it was just kind of attached there. Like this, it makes me think more of a cape than wings, but then it is attached here and you also have this wing coming off the back of the upper arm. It still has those veins through it. It matches up with the skin tone. Very organic. Below the waist, you have the texture to the jeans or the pants. I don't know what he'd be wearing. Got a buckle on the front. Got black paint for the belt going around. Tears in it because that's what happens when a character grows from a normal human into a big honkin' bat. That works around. It's torn off at the bottom. Got pockets on the back, belt loops. Everything's done really nicely here. There's not as much paint as you would think. There's some to darken the fur on the forearms, and then a dry brush of lighter brown to the heavier fur around the shoulders and upper torso. And then, of course, like I said, the belt, and that gets a little weird at the edges at the belt loops. But what really sticks out at you is the paint on the face. That purple works so well for the ears and the mouth. Then you have these red beady eyes poking out from the blackness of the socket, and when you think about it, it's simple, but very, very effective. The teeth kind of throw me because you have the long fang here, shorter fang on this side, and it's not symmetrical. It's kind of jutting off to his left. Although the upper teeth are a separate piece glued in, mine may be off to the side slightly. But even if it was just shifted over a bit, the teeth still wouldn't be. So yeah, it works. Then for some engineering, I love the neck. It's on a long dumbbell joint, and this piece right here floats in between the head and the torso. So it gets way more movement than I expected. Look at this, whoosh, even side to side. I also like how whenever you bend the elbows, it doesn't break the wing as much as you would think. I mean, you can rotate it away from it, I guess, like that, but you can bend all the way, and it still looks like zzz. That also brings me to the first of my gripes because, yeah, while it looks cool, the wings being in a relaxed position, you can't get like an outstretched flying pose. I guess you kind of can. Would have been amazing to get the wings stretched out. I don't know how that would work. Maybe a completely separate piece, but it's just one of those things. Also, because of how the hand is sculpted holding the wing, that killed any kind of wrist articulation because it essentially becomes all one piece. It's got the great McFarlane mid-torso joint with a ball joint at the waist, so you get lots of movement. Unfortunately, right out of the package, it's kind of floppy, and that has to be a byproduct of how much weight is up. It puts a lot of wear and tear on the middle, which works into my biggest complaint, and it's hard to call it a complaint because it's the design of Man-Bat himself, but it's also the design they chose to go with for Man-Bat. Again, A lot of plastic up here, very thin down here. The legs are sculpted to stay bent like this, which works into that creepy factor, but unfortunately, the ankles give out if you don't have it perfectly balanced. I mean, you can do it. It's not impossible, because it even falls back. Because again, even without this weight here, the wings are always dragging back. So you gotta have kind of a forward hunch in there. It's very, very likely to dump forward or back. And my first thought is, man, those detents in there should have been way heavier, but look how small it actually is. I don't know how possible that would have been, because up here, the knees nice and tight. They stay in the positions. Going over articulation, like I said, long dumbbell joint in the neck can look up and shift down side to side. Then that rotates on the end of that. The arm is also on a dumbbell joint, but because of the size of the shoulder, you get this and some up and down. This first sculpt coming out over is a bit soft, so when you're rotating around, it will get out of the way. Then there's a hinge on the end of that goes up. Hinge at the elbow goes from there to about 90. And that does swivel. Ball or dumbbell at the mid-torso gets you some nice hula hoop action, along with some rotation. Then there's a ball at the waist that also gets you forward and back, and oh, that's a lot of crunch. That also rotates. Hinge and swivel at the hip, and the crotch is a soft rubber piece, so it gets out of the way as you come forward. Back, oh, lots out. Some slight rotation at that assembly. Double knee. Yeah, so bing. Swivel above the ankle, and then a hinge at the ankle that goes there and there. Forward-facing pin for some rocker, and then a toe joint that goes to there. For what Man-Bat lacks in stability, it makes up for in sheer size. Stands at almost 9 inches tall, with a wingspan of about 11. Because of that size, even with McFarlane's other 7-inch DC Multiverse figures, it's still big, it's still intimidating. Which means it also works with other 7-inch lines like the NECA DC stuff or older DC Direct. But this Man-Bat being the character it is, big, huge, bulky monster, it'll also work with your 1/12 scale figures like Mattel DC Universe Classics, or whatever the hell they were calling it later. Was this Multiverse 2? Or your Medicom Mafex DC Hush figures, or even the slightly smaller DC Icons. You know, for DC not being my primary collection, I sure have a lot of DC. But if you're wanting to use this for custom fodder or as just a big old monster in other displays, here's the usual comparison of Hasbro Star Wars Black Series and Hasbro Marvel Legends. How did I almost forget this? Because it's been a while since I've pulled the DC Universe. Wait, it's a Mattel Man-Bat. That's all I got. Curfew's at 10. But Dad! Curfew's at 10! I almost nearly forgot this comparison too. The last 2 DC Multiverse Megafigs. A lot of brown plastic going through the McFarlane factories right now. So at the end of the day, beautiful, beautiful figure, but oh, the falling over pisses me off. Which is part of the design. I get what they were going for. Very top heavy. And your focus goes straight to the bat parts. Whereas the legs with the jeans and the clawed feet aren't so much the focus. But when it comes to action figures, you kind of have to take into consideration all of that together. I really think the legs should have been thickened up a little bit, add some extra detent power down there, some stiffness. It needs stability. Plus, I'm kind of looking at this as Man-Bat chained or something, like he's in Arkham. With the wings not being able to spread out like it is, it's not really, you know, attack from the sky Man-Bat. It's more crawling around in alleyways, sneak attacking you. Or like I said, locked up, pinned down. He's in a cell or something. So it's a little of this and a little of this. You have to make a choice. If you want a Man-Bat that's just going to stand on the shelf, look intimidating, kind of over the rest of your figures, McFarlane's got you covered. But if you want action poses and constantly changing his stance, or, you know, some ACBA with some pictures, him flying down, not so much. The more I move this around, the more I don't like it. But the more I just leave it standing there looking like a badass, the more I do like it. So, yeah. There's some good, there's some bad. You have to take them both if you want this. And that just means, you know, the facts of life. Where am I going? But if you enjoyed the review, comment, like, subscribe. Much love to the plus if you're interested in seeing videos early or in a position to help out the channel, patreon.com. But wherever you may be watching this, I'll always catch you on the Fwoosh. I guess you could get in there and tighten it up with something, or just glue it in place from here down. Because, really, well, I don't know. I'd hate to lose that nice forward ankle articulation if you want him kind of crouched down, sitting on the edge of a building, looking down, waiting for Batman. But really it comes down to how much frustration you can endure to have a badass man bat on your shelf.